wanted to just address Kathy's post that she posted the other day about her sister, and just the sort of concerns about how far do you take spirituality, and how do you know when you're really encountering something that's real and not real, and the difference between mental illness and when we're actually having out-of-body experiences. And I think this is a huge topic, because my hair is crazy, by the way, but I've been on a walk, so this is a Utah lake behind me. Anyway, this is a huge topic because here's how, and this is all just my opinion and how I see it, and so you can take it or leave it, see what resonates with you and what doesn't. But in this universe, as far as we know, even in quantum physics, that every thought that has ever been thought exists, and every potential that is a potential, so basically infinite potential, exists. Therefore, infinite timelines exist. Therefore, infinite realities exist. So when you're starting to explore these quantum realities and these parallel realities and these infinite realities, you are entering into an entire realm of possibilities. And if you're committed to the idea that there's only one truth, then you could experience anything on the other side and then bring it back to this third dimensional reality and say this is the truth and it's the only truth. And I believe this is how most religions and things get started, because people do have real experiences with entities and with spirits and with otherworldly things and with other realities and extraterrestrial and interdimensional realities that all exist. So if you don't have discernment on what you're actually experiencing, you can take that to mean you could enter into one particular reality and then bring it into this third dimension and say it's the only reality there is, and I'm going to build my whole life around this reality. And you have every right to do that, because the truth of this universe that we live in is that it's based on the law of attraction. So what you focus on, you create, and we're all creators. And I believe that we come from Source, that we're all extensions of Source, and we come here to create experiences and to have contrast so that our soul can expand. Just like you can't stand in white to know what white is, you have to stand in black to know what white is. So that's the point of this contrast. So we experience duality, we experience contrast, we experience pain, we experience pleasure. We have this plethora of experiences here. And I personally have a problem with the idea of one truth. I do believe that the most objective truth that there is the truth of oneness, that we all come from the same place and that there's one source. There's not two sources. There's not a source of light and a source of darkness. There's one source, and from that you can go far from that source and therefore experience darkness, the absence, but it's not really truly the absence of that source, it's just sort of dimming the light. Or you can go closer to that source and make the light brighter. And like I said, within that there's an infinite potential and infinite realities. So when you're doing out-of-body work, and if you're particularly sensitive, you can have a lot of different experiences that can be confusing. The one thing that I know that is my compass in sorting through realities is what actually empowers me and what makes me feel closer to Source, to my source stream, to my higher self, and to the intentions that I set when I came here. If something makes me feel disempowered, and when people bring back truths from other realities, and those truths contain ideas that there is an external power that you need to give your service to, or your power to, that's when I think that it's something to be cautious of. And I do think it actually exists. I think people who have mental illness and schizophrenia, I think they are actually experiencing things in other dimensions. I think they're probably in the spirit realm or on the astrals, and or in the realm of thought forms, which is another dimension, which is where you can interact with thought forms, every thought form that's ever been thought. So when we don't have the ability to decipher between realities, between dimensions, like, okay, I'm in the third dimension, this is what's going on in the third dimension, this is what's going on in the thought realm, in the fifth dimension, or whatever, or even higher dimensions. If you don't have the ability to discern where you are and what's going on, you can get very confused. And I think this is what happens with people who have mental illness, or people who start saying very strange things. Kathy said that her sister was talking about growing wings and believing wings were coming out. I do believe that's happening to her in the astrals. I believe on another dimension she probably is growing wings, but she's somehow lost the ability to decipher between this reality and other realities that she's visiting. So, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I think that maybe her soul chose to have that kind of experience here. But my personal issue with things like this is when people externalize their power. Again, I think there's entities in other realms that try to use, quote unquote, use our energy to vibrate at a faster pace. It's hard to explain unless you're actually looking at it. And even me looking at it, I'm looking at it from my perspective. But I do believe if you experience an entity or a spirit or anything that says that you have to give your power away and that they're going to control what you do or they're telling you what to do and you do it, I think it's time to be very, very careful. Now, if the truth of the matter is that the ultimate source, we're all one, then in a way you could say, well, what is there to be afraid of? But I think the fear is, well, it's not even a fear. The thing to think about is what kind of experience do you want to have in this reality, because you are creating your reality. So if you want to have an experience in where you are disempowered and you give your power away to other entities, other beings, religion, whatever you want to give it away to, that's okay. You can have that experience. But you don't have to have that experience. And you have to understand too that in this dimension, most people aren't interacting consciously with other dimensions. So if you're choosing to interact consciously with other dimensions and then bring them here in the third dimension to such an extent that they become real for you and you can't distinguish between one reality or another, that's okay too, but you're going to have a really disempowered experience in the third dimension. My other issue with this whole starseed, all the kind of new agey stuff, which I believe in extraterrestrials, I've experienced them, I understand that realm, and I'm not saying it's not true, but this is my problem with it. If you look at those tests that say, like, here's these signs that you're a starseed or whatever, most of the symptoms or the signs are signs that people who've been extremely abused would have too, almost every single one of them. And the problem with that is, here's my problem with needing to find an identity outside of humanity. The truth of the matter is we are all more than just human. Every single person, every single soul, every single person that's here is more than just human. We have many aspects. We have many dimensional aspects, and our soul is existing on other dimensions at the same time that it's existing here. Whether we're consciously tuning into that or not is another story. But we all have that. There's no one more special than the other. And the problem I have with the whole starseed, I need to find out what planet I'm from, I need to find out if I'm a starseed, I need to find out if I'm an angel, I need to find out all of those things, is I think, especially when you take those symptoms of most people who've been extremely abused, and then you say, you're starting with someone who probably at their core doesn't believe they have any value, and probably denies most of who they are as a human, because we've been told certain aspects of our humanity are bad and wrong, and so we suppress and deny aspects of who we are as humans, and we in turn favor things that seem more acceptable to us. So a lot of starseed qualities seem more acceptable to us because we can feel more special, more powerful, more light, less dark, all of those things. And that's the problem I have with it, is I feel like it's a form of spiritual bypassing, and it's also a band-aid for people who feel very invaluable and they want to feel valuable. And that's okay. You can, if it feels good to you to claim a starseed identity or a just some sort of interdimensional or extra-dimensional identity because you don't feel like you have very much worth here and that's why you're doing it, I understand that would feel better. But I would encourage everyone to understand and to accept 100% all of their humanity before they even went into other realms. Because if you don't accept who you are, if you don't accept aspects of your humanity, which you are human, if you are here in the human flesh and you were born here, you're human. Whether or not your soul comes from another planet or not, you're still human. And to deny, and that in and of itself is a beautiful, amazing, powerful thing. And it's a brave thing to be a human, because the amount of contrast we experience on this planet is extremely painful from the perspective of oneness. So there's nothing to be ashamed of if the fact that we're human. And I think it's important to embrace every aspect of us, our sexualities, our all of our shadows, everything about us that makes us human, all the contrast in us that makes us human. It is so important to accept and embrace. And I think one of the most important things to become quote-unquote enlightened, or to be more expansive to the point where you can start identifying with your other dimensional aspects, is to first and foremost accept and love and embrace all of your humanity. So if you're claiming a starseed identity or an angel identity or whatever, all these other identities to escape your humanity and to escape the parts of you that make you human, and to not look at the parts of you that maybe feel not as light and bright and high vibe, then I think you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because you're keeping part of your consciousness in the shadows. Your shadow gets darker, and therefore you probably have areas of your life that you're really out of balance. And I've experienced this, we've all experienced this. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking you're from another planet or anything like that, and I think that's actually true. I think many souls are incarnated here from other planets. But I don't think it's that important. I think if it were that important, I think we would come in with that knowledge more, and some of us have, that knowledge is becoming available to us now because it is starting to become more important. But I think what is the most important thing is that we are living here on this earth in this crazy multidimensional reality, in a universe where we can create our own realities, and we're living in the flesh as separate beings. So we're living with an ego, and we did that for the point of expansion, not just to come here and deny who we are and then crucify it. We came here to experience who we are, experience contrast, experience separation, so that we could have a greater understanding of oneness. So I would encourage you to really explore your humanity first and really embrace your humanity. And when you do that, you will realize how powerful you are, and you will be able to feel empowered from within, and then less likely to disempower yourself and give your power to another entity or another being or another truth or religion or whatever. And if religion feels good for you, I'm not bagging religion, but I'm saying don't disempower yourself in order to favor religion. So those are my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and I hope you're all having a great day. Ciao.